Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now, first things first, I do want to give a small apology. My plan was to release a lot more content this week, a couple episodes, all that stuff that I usually like to do. I was going to stockpile a bunch of it and put it out, but my Wi-Fi situation here ain't great. It took me about 6 hours to get the original basis picks uploaded, and the first upload failed and I had to do it again, and yeah, luckily it went out. So I'm doing this one, but when I leave here, the next place I'm actually going to is probably going to have an even worse Wi-Fi situation than here, and even using the data on my phone, which is not cheap, will probably not get them out much either. So I might be able to do a basis picks for the big fights next week. Maybe I might just record it after this and then just keep it in the chamber and then just click send when next Friday comes around. I guess I'll have to wait and see, but yeah, the chances of getting more content, I'm not sure, but I will do what I can as and when I can until I get back to the UK. With that being said, look, we had 3 days, or was it two and a bit days actually, of boxing gone on over the last couple of days. Friday started off with the York Hall show. I'm not really going to speak about it because ultimately the main fight that was of any consequence or any note to us primarily, ended up being called off. Shaq Peters obviously got ill a few days before the bout. So then Bradley Ray stepped in to face Daniel Blender dos Santos, but then Blender dos Santos got ill on the day, so Bradley Ray didn't get to have the fight either. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. I do know that Emma Dolan beat Lauren. Is it Lauren Parker? Yeah, I think she beat her, and then there was a split decision between Ben Crocker and Tiernan Bradley, which was a pretty decent fight actually watching that. So yeah, kind of keep that one there. Then we went to Saturday, and I know that they had the fight card in Kazakhstan. I haven't been able to see any of it, but Alim Khanalov was on the card, so was Bakadir Jalalov. There was a couple other names on there as well, who's off the top of my head I can't remember. I haven't seen any of that card, so I can't really comment on that. Then we had the heavy impact, or as I like to call it, medium impact card that took place on DAZN. Frank Warren's first foray into the DAZN market. I didn't see any of the prelims. Well, I saw Royston Barney Smith. I saw a piece of that fight. That was about it. But then went to the main card, and I didn't pay attention to the first fight, which I think was Khalil Majid. But I saw bits and pieces of it. It looked fairly composed. Got a victory. So yeah, obviously I was very interested in the debut of Mr. Ori, and I think right now I've got to say it's a mystery how he's going to do in the heavyweight division. Yeah, from what I saw as a debut, bear in mind normally your debut fight is supposed to be, just a little statement fight, get you out there, let people see what you're about, get a little bit of hype behind you, and then you gradually step it up from there onwards. Yeah, I'm not spewing hyperbole, and I'm not being dramatic when I say, and this is bearing for me, yeah, I'm not talking about anyone else. There was probably a lot worse, but for me, that had to arguably be the worst debut I've ever seen. It's not me being a slave to the moment. I saw a boxer that was forcing a jab and a right hand. I saw a boxer that almost had no idea what to do with his feet. I had a boxer like falling short behind right hand shots. I had a boxer that got caught for me way too much for someone of the level that he was fighting. And that wasn't like, oh, getting caught in a tear up, a bit like the Pat Brown fight. And bear in mind, Pat Brown, the opponent he faced, was much better than this guy. I had a boxer that just seemed unsure of himself, didn't really know what he was doing. Everything just looked stiff and forced and contrived. A far cry from the little bits of the amateur footage I've seen of him prior. So the jury's out. I think potentially there's maybe, a British title contention in there. Maybe there could be more than that. Who knows? It was a debut. Maybe the nerves got to him and that's what we got. But based on that, the future's not looking bright, and that mystery might stay unsolved. But I'm not going to say too much more on that for the time being. The Jack Rafferty fight. I missed most of this one, if I'm being honest. I saw a bit and then I think I may have either dozed off or something happened, and then the next thing I know, we're going towards the co-main event, which was obviously David Adeleye and Jamie TKV. Now, you guys remember on Basis Picks, I predicted that I felt this fight would go distance. I felt that the first, sort of 4 or 5 rounds would be sort of all David, and then Jamie may sort of take over the second half of the fight, but it would be a very sort of scrappy, messy affair. It wouldn't really be that, that nice on the eye for the most part. But I felt like Jamie would have to, suffer maybe some adversity and wear some of that early on, and then sort of take it over towards the second half, with David winning, narrowly or probably on a split decision. Well, yeah, fight didn't play out like that. So in that sense, I got it wrong. But I did predict David to win. The way he won, very controversial. A lot of people have been saying, like, the referees, obviously, he's called break 3 times. He's patted down the right hand of Jamie TKV, has pulled it down and pulled it away. He's gone round the back of Adeleye, and he's then sort of pulled the other hand away of Jamie. So he's basically almost starfished out in a standing position, but he's letting the ref know, okay, I'm no longer holding. But in that moment, David does what he, did what he needed to do, came in with a short, vicious left hook, bang, straight on the button, with, Jamie TKV not expecting it, and he goes down. And at this point, I think he's almost on the ground looking at the ref like, yo, ref, he just hit me. You call break and he's just hit me. Like, what's going on? But ref looks at the timekeeper, starts counting, and then Jamie has to get up, but he's clearly not steady on his legs. He manages to, sort of just about compose himself for the referee to let him back out. And yeah, then it just becomes a barrage by Adeleye, and bang, he gets caught with another little short counter left on the inside, which I didn't even notice the first time. It almost looked like he just kind of tripped over. But yeah, down again, makes it back to his feet, but by this point he's not really compliant. He's looking at his corner more so than the ref, not really able to focus, and the referee decides to wave it off, even though he says, no, I'm good, I want to carry on. Now, I want to say I don't know the name of the ref. I didn't bother to hear who it was prior to the fight, but he was awful the entire fight. I mean, don't get twisted, the fight itself wasn't great to watch, and I kind of knew it wouldn't be, especially not in that first half. That is very much a style that TKV has perfected, incorporating his wrestling background along with the boxing. But his jab was jabbing nicely throughout the entire fight up until that point. But the ref constantly, like, sometimes breaking the clinches without letting them work it out, without letting them do any work inside the clinch. He was constantly calling, I think it was back of the head shots, even though the shots weren't landing anywhere near the back of the, I can't even remember. he just done so much stuff. I just said to myself, I was literally about to tweet just before the knockdown happened, is this ref just trying to make this fight all about him? Because every moment he's motioning to someone, he's telling someone off, and it wasn't even really that bad of an affair at that time. So he just had a whole stinker. Like, if anything, I really feel like when they say the refs should have to explain their decisions and explain the jobs that they've done, like you should have a review after every fight. Okay, you get like an A or a B or a C, D, etc., E, F for your performance of the fight, how they graded you, how they felt you handled the situation. Well, I think he would get a strong D to E grade, because yeah, he just got in the way for the majority of it. He initiated the problem that caused the first knockdown. Wasn't close enough to the boxers. It was just, yeah, it was a whole nightmare. But you look, David done what he needed to do. He predicted knockout. He said, look, I get busy, this is what I do, and ultimately this is what he does. I got to give him the credit. There's several times though where he was loading up that left hand, and Jamie saw it coming. He would dip underneath it. He would spin him. He would get in the clinch straight after, or he would shoot off the jab. So he was doing a lot of good work. He was winning. I think he won the first 5 rounds. I don't think there's a round in there that I could really give to David, but he was just biding his time. I guess he just trusted and believed in his power and didn't feel like he needed to necessarily win the rounds. Just stay in there and make the other guy work, and maybe that was the game plan. But yeah, look, controversial. I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm assuming an appeal may get put in. They may have grounds for a possible no contest and a rematch, or maybe just grounds for an immediate rematch with the British Boxing Board of Control. And if that happens, let's see if TKV takes it ultimately. But yeah, that's that one. And then we go to the main event. So again, I picked Filip Hrgović to win. I picked him to win on points. I did feel it might possibly be a split decision where he's done enough of the cleaner work, but Joyce probably gets a bit more active, has a bit more activity within it, and it pretty much played out exactly as I thought, except for the scorecards. So it wasn't a split decision. It wasn't even a majority decision. It was a unanimous decision to Filip Hrgović. And while I'm not surprised that he managed to get a unanimous, I am surprised at the scorecards. It was 97-93, 98-92, and then 96-95. Now, if I was doing it, I would have said 92-98, 93-97, and 95-96. Because that's how, I always judge based on who's the away and the home fighter. Now, the 95-96/96-95 scorecard is actually how I had it scored. You can see my scorecard on the old socials, and that's what I predicted. So I had that one, for me, basically a spot on. The other two to me were very wide, especially the 92-98 card. Joyce, I feel, definitely had an argument for 4 rounds in the fight, but ultimately the work rate just wasn't enough, because there wasn't enough good quality work going in. There was a lot of stuff being shielded off the shoulder of Hrgović, sailing over the head, or he was parrying it with the arms. Obviously, if it's not clean striking, you don't really count it. The body shots, I'm sure a lot of those were being counted, but if you get sort of 3 good body shots from Joyce, and then you compound that with maybe 2 good clean right hands up top, the up top shots are usually going to take preference in the eyes of the judges. So I mean, I think Joyce can feel a bit hard done by 2 of those scorecards, but on one of them he was right there. It was razor close, and that's kind of how I had it. If I didn't score the 10th round even, it would have had it 95-95 a draw. So that's how I kind of saw the fight. It was, I think Filip Hrgović did win personally, but it was very, very close. I don't think the scorecards were indicative of that ultimately. But that's what, the fourth loss for Joe Joyce in the last 5 fights now. That's a bitter pill to swallow. Is Joe Joyce now going to become the new Derek Chisora? Is that what we're doing? I mean, to be fair, Derek started a lot earlier in his career than where Joe's at. So I don't know. I want to say something here, but I don't want to get myself in trouble. That being said, it doesn't matter if I get in trouble or not. I still feel like, and Queensberry they've done amazingly the last few years. Like Frank Warren and the resurgence of Queensberry, George Warren, all of them deserve massive praise and credit for what they've done. But I maintain that they ruined Joe Joyce's career. Now, yes, look, you go in there and you take the fights and you have to perform in the ring, and I get all of that, but you can't have a Joe Joyce that went from basically knocking out Daniel Dubois and knocking out Joseph Parker, and yet both of them got opportunities before he did. Like, that's crazy. A part of it was obviously because you had, Tyson Fury was the guy, and they didn't really want to upset the apple cart with Tyson Fury. But Joe Joyce just got tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. Daniel Dubois got rebuilt perfectly, to be honest. A bunch of soft touches after the Joe Joyce defeat to when he then got that WBA regular title, which, meant nothing, from Trevor Bryant. Then, gets knocked out by Usyk, but comes back now. To be fair, the run after Usyk was proper, but that was so far down in the career, like after you'd already had all of the building blocks. They must have looked at him like it was last chance saloon. Like, look, if you can't get past this guy, then we ain't really got much for you. But Daniel showed that he still had something there. But in that entire time, for Joe Joyce not to get any type of world title opportunity or get some favorable fights for himself, no, there was nothing but hard fights. It was Carlos Takam, then it's Joseph Parker, then it's Zhang Zhilei, which obviously is where everything started, the downfall started. I just don't feel like he was done right by his promotional team. And you know what, maybe that's partly his fault as well. Him and his management believing the hype, believing that they could do everything that the public was telling them, when the public ain't the one in there taking those punches. Maybe they should have been a bit more risk averse, like some of the other fighters that we had back then, and maybe they may have had a bit more success. Maybe that Zhang defeat happens a year and a half, 2 years later, after Undisputed, maybe it happens for a title shot, and then at least you could say you got a shot at the world title. It's it's pretty harsh to see how quickly he's fallen off, how badly, and just how like the downfall of Joe Joyce is something epic. We always knew there was a shelf life to his particular type of style and how he really gave it up in the ring, but he was not helped by that promotional situation at all. But them's the breaks, I suppose. Survival of the fittest, and I guess his stamina's starting to run out. So that was that card. Now the Top Rank card, I wasn't able to watch a lot of it. I did try to reach out to someone who I won't name, probably they wouldn't want me to see if they could actually loan me their ESPN Plus account to watch, because my Now TV account doesn't work over here. Even with the VPN, it wouldn't work, so I couldn't watch it via Sky Sports. I had a couple of other websites that I tried to log into, pure buffering. So I had to basically watch the main event, which was Richard Torres Jr. against Guido Vianello, like this morning on YouTube. Someone just uploaded the fight, so I managed to watch it there without even knowing who won, which was good. And yeah, so I saw that. I saw Abdullah Mason's fight. I did manage to watch that one because it didn't buffer too much. Great performance by Abdullah. I didn't get to see much of Lindelfo Delgado against Elvis Rodriguez. So again, I don't even know who won that fight. But yeah, look, Richard Torres, I predicted he'd go points. I predicted it would be, I thought it would be maybe a split decision. But no, it was another unanimous decision. And again, scorecards, what was it, 90, I think there was a 90, 97, 93, 97, 92, and a 98, 91, I think, were the scorecards overall. I mean, from what I saw, I feel like probably the 97, 92 was the most correct scorecard, or maybe 97, 93 if you say you give Guido Vianello a share of one of the rounds. But Richard Torres just too busy, just a bit too aggressive. Was able to sort of dip under a lot of the shots from Guido, and even though he got very tired sort of towards the end, it's the first time he's actually gone that far in the fight. The rounds did him good. But yeah, like he pretty much did what he wanted to do in the fight for the most part. Guido had a few moments of success in quite a few rounds, but overall, from what I saw, can't really complain. So shout out to Richard Torres Jr. I haven't seen any of the Australian card with Joey Spencer and Tim Tszyu, but I predicted Tim Tszyu would win, but I thought he'd win via unanimous decision. I thought he'd go the distance. Not that I thought Joey Spencer was anything special, but it was I still thought the demons might have been there. But 4th round stoppage, corner throws in the towel. Haven't seen the fight. I just saw the report of it. Well done to him. Also, the Brandon Grouch and Liam Taliva rematch happened. And Grouch won the first one via 2nd round knockout. I think that was at the end of 2023. They have the rematch, and then Liam Taliva gets his payback with a 5th round knockout of an 8 rounder this time instead of a 6 rounder. And so Grouch now loses, so now they're 1-1 with 1 knockout apiece. I haven't watched the fight, but I think I will, because the last one was on my honorable mentions for fight of the year in 2023. So I definitely will be keen to see the trilogy. They got to run it back now that they're 1 apiece. Don't know when that will happen, but yeah. So look, that's pretty much all I can say of the weekend. That the only thing I was able to watch the majority of was the DAZN card. Outside of that, everything else was a little bit choppy. So apologies, isn't a bit more comprehensive, but there is Fight Talk live on tonight. It's definitely back. I don't know who's gonna be on it. I'm gonna try and be on it. Wi-Fi pending. See if I can get a decent connection for about an hour to jump on. But if not, you guys will see me back there on the weekend of Whitaker and Cameron. But yeah, look, that being said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, I suppose. But until then, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great week. And yeah, I'll see you when I get back. Until then, peace.